Most people believe they need to feel motivated to start anything important in life. They wait for that magical moment when the energy appears, when the will arises, when enthusiasm takes over. But the truth is that this moment rarely arrives. If you are waiting for motivation to change your life, you will probably remain still, stuck in the same place, watching the days go by without taking any real steps. Motivation is unstable. It's like the weather. One day it's sunny, the next it rains. If you depend on it, your life will be a reflection of this instability. What really transforms is action. Action comes before motivation. When you act, even without the will, even without energy, even without believing you are ready, something happens inside you. Movement generates energy. Movement generates clarity. Movement generates confidence. And it is at this point that motivation appears, not as a cause, but as a consequence. Imagine someone who decides to start running. On the first day, there is no motivation. There is laziness. There are excuses. There is resistance. But this person puts on their sneakers, leaves the house and runs, even slowly. On the second day, the same thing. In the third one, you already start to feel something different. The body responds, the mind realizes that it's possible, and then motivation arises. Not because it was waiting, but because it acted first. This is the secret that almost no one tells you. You don't need motivation to start. You need to start to have motivation. It's counterintuitive, but it's real. Discipline is what opens the door, and motivation comes afterward. The problem is that we've been conditioned to believe that we need to be inspired to act. Since we were little, we've heard phrases like, "Do it when you feel like it," "Wait for the right moment," "When you're motivated, it will work out." But this creates a mental trap. The right moment never comes. The desire never appears. And you keep waiting, postponing, procrastinating. It's like standing on the edge of a pool, waiting to feel the courage to dive in. You can spend hours there, looking at the water, thinking, imagining. But the courage only appears when you dive in. Action is the trigger. Without action, nothing happens. With action, everything changes. If you look at anyone who has achieved something great, you'll realize that they didn't start out motivated. They started with fear, insecurity, doubt. But they started. And by starting, they created the habit. The habit generated discipline. Discipline brought results, and the results fueled motivation. It's a powerful cycle, but it only begins with the first step. The first step is always the hardest because it requires breaking the barrier of inertia. But once you move, movement becomes easier. Think of a parked car. To get it moving, you need a lot of strength. But once it starts moving, keeping it moving requires much less effort. Life works the same way. The beginning is tough, but then the rhythm is established. What you need to understand is that there is no perfect moment. There is no ideal scenario. There is no constant motivation. What exists is action. And action is a choice. You choose to get out of bed. You choose to study. You choose to train. You choose to work on your project. And this choice doesn't depend on how you feel. It depends only on your decision. If you wait until you feel good to act, you will act very little. But if you decide to act regardless of how you feel, you will build a lifetime of results. That is the difference between those who achieve and those who only dream. Those who achieve act without waiting for motivation. Those who dream wait for motivation to act, and the wait never ends. Maybe you're thinking, but I can't start without motivation. That's just a belief. You've already done many things without motivation. You've gotten up early to work without wanting to. You've studied for a test without being excited. You've fulfilled obligations without feeling energetic, and yet you did it. This proves that you don't need motivation to act. You only need decision. Motivation is a bonus, not a condition. When it appears, great, take advantage of it. But when it doesn't appear, don't stop. Keep going, because it is precisely on the days without motivation that you build your strength. On the days when you don't want to, but you do, you create discipline. Discipline is much more powerful than motivation. Discipline does not depend on feelings. Discipline depends on commitment, and commitment is what generates real transformation. Stop waiting for motivation. Start now. Not tomorrow, not when you feel like it, not when everything is perfect. Now. Because every minute you wait is a minute lost. And every minute lost is one less step towards the life you want. Motivation may appear later, but it will never be enough if you don't act first. Action is what paves the way. Action is what builds. Action is what transforms. And when you understand this, you'll never again be trapped in the waiting trap. You become free to act, free to grow, free to conquer. Have you ever noticed how the mind creates perfect excuses to postpone what needs to be done? It says you're not ready, that you don't have the energy, that today isn't the right day, and you believe it. But these excuses don't disappear over time. They repeat themselves every day. If you don't learn to act without depending on motivation, you'll remain trapped in this cycle. The key is simple. Transform action into habit. When you create a habit, you don't need to think. You don't need to feel like it. You don't need to negotiate with yourself. You simply do it. And that's what frees you from dependence on motivation. Think of something you already do without thinking, like brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation to brush your teeth. You don't wake up expecting to feel like it. You simply do it because it has become part of your routine. Now imagine if you could transform studying, training, working on your projects into habits as automatic as brushing your teeth. This is possible, but it requires you to start even without the desire. The beginning is uncomfortable, but it is precisely this discomfort that shapes discipline. Discipline is born when you act despite resistance, and the more times you repeat it, the easier it becomes. Until you reach a point where it no longer depends on motivation, it only depends on your routine. A practical example, someone who decides to write every day. In the beginning, there is no motivation. There is laziness, there is creative block, there is insecurity. But this person decides to write for 10 minutes every day without fail. In the beginning, it is difficult, but after a week, it becomes more natural. After a month, they no longer need to think. They simply write, and after a few months, writing becomes part of that person's identity. They don't need motivation because they already see themselves as someone who writes. Repeated action creates identity, and identity is much stronger than motivation. When you see yourself as a disciplined person, you don't need motivation to act. You act because it's part of who you are. Another important point is to understand that motivation is emotional, but discipline is rational. Motivation depends on how you feel. If you're excited, you act. If you're tired, you stop. Discipline, on the other hand, depends on your decision. You decide to act, regardless of how you feel. And that decision is what builds results. That's why disciplined people achieve more than motivated people. Because discipline doesn't fail. Discipline doesn't depend on mood. It doesn't depend on energy. It doesn't depend on circumstances. It only depends on the commitment you've made to yourself. And that commitment is what changes your life. If you want to start without motivation, you need practical strategies. The first is to reduce the size of the action. Often you don't start because you imagine the task as something enormous. Want to run 10 kilometers? Want to study for 3 hours? Want to write an entire book? That's scary. But if you break the action down to something small, it becomes much easier. Instead of running 10 kilometers, run 1. Instead of studying for 3 hours, study for 15 minutes. Instead of writing a book, write 1 page. The secret is to start small. Because when you start small, you break the barrier of inertia. And once you start, it's much easier to continue. The hard part is taking the first step. After you take it, the second one comes naturally. Another strategy is to create triggers. A trigger is something that reminds you to act. It can be a fixed time, it can be an object, it can be a routine. For example, if you decide to train every day at 7 a.m., that time becomes a trigger. When the clock strikes 7, you know it's time to train. Or if you leave the book on the table, it becomes a trigger to study. The trigger eliminates the need for motivation because it creates an automatic association. You don't need to think, you just respond to the trigger. And the more times you respond, the stronger the habit becomes. It's also important to eliminate distractions. Often you don't act because you're surrounded by things that steal your attention. your cell phone, social media, television. If you want to act without motivation, you need to make action the easiest path, and that means removing obstacles. If you want to study, put your cell phone away. If you want to work out, get your clothes ready beforehand. If you want to write, open the document and get it ready. The less resistance there is, the easier it will be to start. And when you start, motivation may even appear later, but you will have already done the most important thing: act. One point that few people understand is that motivation is not reliable, but discipline is predictable. If you depend on motivation, you never know if you will act. But if you depend on discipline, you know exactly what will happen. Because discipline is a choice. You choose to act, and you act. It doesn't matter if you are happy or sad, tired or excited. You act because you decided to. And this predictability is what builds consistent results. Consistent results create confidence, and confidence fuels motivation. It's a cycle that begins with discipline and ends with motivation, but never the other way around. Stop waiting for motivation. Start now, even small, even without the will, even without energy. Because every time you act without motivation, you strengthen your discipline. And every time you strengthen your discipline, you get closer to the life you want. Motivation may even appear later, but it's not necessary. What is necessary is action, and action is within your reach, right now. You already understand that waiting for motivation is a trap. You've already realized that discipline is what truly builds results. Now it's time to take the next step. Apply this to your life in a practical and definitive way, because it's not enough to just understand the concept. You need to live the concept. And living means acting. Acting even when there's no will, even when there's no energy, even when everything seems to conspire against you. It is at this moment that you prove to yourself that you are capable. It is at this moment that you create the strongest version of who you can be. Life won't wait for you to feel motivated. Time won't stop until you're ready. The days keep passing, and every day you postpone is a lost day. The difference between those who succeed and those who fall behind lies precisely in the ability to act without waiting. Those who succeed don't wait for the ideal scenario. Don't wait to feel like it. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. Those who succeed even act in chaos, even in doubt, even in fear. And it is this action that opens doors, that creates opportunities, that transforms dreams into reality. You can look at any area of your life and realize that the most important moments were not those in which you were motivated, but those in which you decided to act despite the lack of motivation. The day you studied even when tired, the day you worked even without energy, the day you trained even without the will. These are the days that shape your strength. These are the days that build your discipline. These are the days that define who you are. Because motivation is fleeting, but discipline is permanent. Motivation is emotion. Discipline is decision. And decisions build destinies. Now, imagine what your life would be like if you stopped waiting for motivation and started acting every day. Imagine the projects you would have already completed. Imagine the habits you would have already created. Imagine the confidence you would have already developed. All of this is within your reach, but it depends on a simple choice. Starting now. Not tomorrow, not on Monday, not next month. Now. Because the only moment you truly have is the present. The future is just a projection. The past is gone. The present is the only real opportunity to act. And every time you choose to act in the present, you build the future you desire. Maybe you still feel resistance. Maybe your mind still says it's not the right time. But remember, the mind will always create excuses. It will always try to protect you from discomfort. But discomfort is necessary. Discomfort is what generates growth. Discomfort is what strengthens. If you want to evolve, you need to embrace discomfort. You need to act even when it's not easy. You need to move even when there is no motivation. Because it is precisely in this movement that you discover your true strength. And when you discover it, you are never the same again. You don't need motivation to start. You just need a decision. The decision to get up, to act, to take the first step. And that first step can be small. It can be studying for 10 minutes. It can be training for 15. It can be writing a page. The size doesn't matter. What matters is starting. Because when you start, you create movement. And movement generates energy. And energy generates confidence. And confidence generates motivation. But everything starts with action. Always with action. Action is the root of all transformation. Now it's time to stop waiting. It's time to start. It's time to take control of your life and decide that you will no longer depend on motivation. You will depend on discipline. You will depend on your decision. You will depend on your ability to act. And when you do that, you will realize that there are no limits to what you can achieve, because discipline opens all doors. Discipline builds all paths. Discipline transforms any dream into reality. And it all starts now, at this moment with you. If you've made it this far, you already know what you need to do. Don't wait to feel like it. Don't wait for motivation. Just start. Start small, but start. Because every step you take is a brick in the construction of the life you want. And the more steps you take, the stronger you become. The closer you get, the more confident you become. Motivation may appear later, but you don't need it. You already have everything you need, the ability to act. Use that ability. Use it now. And never again wait for motivation to live the life you deserve. And before I finish, I want to speak directly to you who are watching. If this video resonated with you, if it touched you in some way, if it awakened in you the awareness that you need to act now, then do two simple things. First, put it into practice today. Not tomorrow, not later. Today. Choose a small action and do it. Second, subscribe to the channel. Here you will find weekly content about motivation, mindset, discipline, and productivity, all designed to help you evolve and transform your life. Activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos, because each piece of content can be the trigger you need to take the next step. And if this video helped you, share it with someone who also needs to hear this message. Because together, we can create a community of people who don't wait for motivation, but who act, grow, and achieve.